Hi there, welcome to the Schwowin's Nest. My name is Sandra, and I'm so glad you're here. Come along with me into my storage room where I'm going to go thrifting for some projects to make over for this video. I've got a ton of things in my stash. As you can see here, my storage room is just packed full of stuff. Way up on the top shelf, I've got some baskets, and I really like this one. It almost looks like a Longaberger basket, but it's not. It did have this red insert, and I really like the shape of it. I think it's really cool. And yeah, let's grab that. I paid $4.99 for this basket, which is a little bit pricey, but as I said, I really love the shape of it. I also love how it's got some larger slats in it, but this golden color is really not my style. So I'm going to deepen it up a little bit just with a water stain. This is just burnt umber, some black, a little bit of gray, and some water. And I just mixed it all together until I got a color that I liked. And I'm just going to brush it all over the basket and then let it dry. And it turns into this beautiful deep brown color, and you still see a little bit of that gold color through, which gives it a really nice look. To dress up the inside of the basket, I'm going to create a new liner, and this is just a piece of flour sack tea towel, and I just cut it to the right size, and now I'm just going to glue the two sides that don't have hems. Using hot glue, I'm just going to run a small bead of glue along the edge and then fold it up once. Once I'm all the way through folding it over once, I'll fold it over twice, and that will just give it a nice clean hem. I've had this silk screen transfer for a while. I bought it on sale at Michael's, and I thought I would give it a try. You can see that I've cut it in half, and I don't know what I did with the other half. But anyhow, I'll just continue on using this. I'm just using a regular paintbrush and some chalk paint. Nothing fancy for this project. I'm not going to be washing this little tea towel anyway. It's just going to be for display. Every once in a while, I do peel up the backing just to make sure that I'm getting the paint all the way through. When you're working with a brush on a silk screen, you have to kind of push a little bit harder, but not too hard. You don't want your brush loaded with too much paint that it goes through and makes a big blob. Some of the areas I didn't get through enough, and some of them I got a little too much, but I think that adds to the quirkiness of this and makes it look a little bit old and vintage. Now I'll have to very gently and carefully peel this up and then place the other corner in the other corner so I can match everything up and then do the same thing on this side. Once I have this complete, I'm going to flip it around and do the same thing on the other end of the tea towel. Most silkscreen transfers come with a sticky back, which is so handy. And what I did is just go ahead and start with my paintbrush, and I just pushed it down a little bit to make sure that it was sticking. And I'm going to lift it up every once in a while just to make sure that the paint is getting through. The most important thing with these silk screen transfers is as soon as you're done working with them, you've got to take them to the sink, wash them off really well because the paint can stick in between those little mesh dots and then you won't be able to use it again. If you keep care of them, you should be able to use them at least 5 or 6 times before they're too worn out for use. I wanted to add a little bit more detail, although it looks beautiful just the way it is. I'm going to use my rubber stamp and a clear silicone stamp. One is the sunflower, which I'm doing right now, and of course you can see the butterfly stamp just sitting there waiting for its turn. When you're using a rubber stamp, sometimes the ink can get around on the wood. Just make sure you don't rock it when you're putting it on because then you might get some of that outline. Or you can also just clean up the ink before you place it down. Same thing with these silicone stamps. I tend to leave them right on their backing sheet because that just gives me the ability to press it down a little bit easier. I have something on the edges to hold onto. Here's a look at how I styled these two. Here's a bin of some tins. There's a red vase here, an old saucer, dollar store planter box. I think I'm going to try and do something with this. It looks pretty cool. My idea for this little glass bottle was to make it a little terrarium. I'm taking tiny little sprigs of lavender and I'm going to cut off these kind of purpley leaves. I'm going to use them later, but I don't want them right now. I'm going to take these other smaller green leaves and glue those onto the little lavender stems because I think that just makes it look more like real lavender. I'm going to add this little wooden bird inside the terrarium, and I just grabbed a toothpick and I'm going to trim it down, and that's what I'm going to use for the bird, being able to just glue it on there and then just poke it in. Ideally, I would have wanted to use a little bit of dirt, but all of my dirt is outside in the garden and we still have snow on the ground, so everything is frozen. So I decided just to grab some reindeer moss, a little bit of hot glue will hold this in place. I'm going to add some hot glue to the bottom of the stems, place it into the jar, and then just use this little coffee stir stick to hold it in place until the glue sets up. It was a little difficult doing this because my hands are so big and this jar is so tiny. And I love my long nails, but it makes it really hard to craft with. But I did my nails for you guys, so I would have really nice hands to look at while I'm crafting. So I hope you enjoy these nails. So I'm going to use some tweezers to hang on to the little bird, and hopefully I'll be able to switch hands without dropping him, but that is not the case. I end up dropping him right inside, and then I have to kind of pull him out and make sure that he's not stuck to anything else, get rid of all the hot glue strings, and try again. The butterfly was a little easier because it had more of a stem on it, so it was a little bit higher up. But now what I'm doing is just taking those little leaves that I had cut off the lavender in the beginning, and I'm just kind of placing them inside, just throwing them in, and then just kind of shaking the jar up a little bit to make sure they kind of settle towards the bottom. I'm going to put the lid on top. I'm going to add a little bow and a button and a couple of little sprigs of greenery, and this project is finished. It's so sweet. I hope you love it as much as I do.
If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet and you like what you see, I would love it if you could hit that red button.
I've been standing here for a couple of minutes taking a look at my little wood stash here. I've got tons more outside, but I think I'm going to grab this cupboard door. It has the tongue and groove. It's got this beautiful orange color to it, and it still has some of the stuff on the back here. I'll start by giving this sign or this piece of cabinet door a good coat of black chalk paint. Now this is varnished really well and sealed in, so there probably isn't going to be any yellowing, but I like to put a coat of black on the bottom for two reasons. One, to see if it will block out any of the yellowing, and two, because then when I distress or if I only want to do a light color on top, some of that black will peek through, and I think that just makes it look really old and vintage. Once it was completely dry, I'm taking the color Sheepskin by Faux. It's a creamy white color and it's really pretty. I'm going to just very lightly go over this. I don't want a full coverage. I want to see some of that black coming through, but I'm going to make sure that the inside is almost a full coverage. So you can kind of see what I'm doing here. I am going to go around the edges and the sides just to make sure that everything blends in well together. I've got two of these wood cutout bunnies. They're about a ½ inch thick and they're made from MDF. I'm going to use that scrapbook paper and I'm going to cover each of them. And I'm going to make the lines go horizontally instead of vertically. I think that will just look better. Using Mod Podge to apply it, and I'll just cover this with Mod Podge, add the scrapbook paper, hold it down really well, and then go over it once with my brayer. I'm going to use a rough emery board to get off all of the excess paper, and that will bring out a little bit of the white underneath the scrapbook paper to give this a little bit of a framed effect. I really love how this looks. Taking 3 of these little mini eggs that you can get in a pack from the Dollar Tree, I'm going to take some of these stems from flowers that I've used, leaving the 3 prongs there. That will just give the egg a little bit of extra support. Hot glue will hold everything in place. Then I have these eggs on a stem and I can do some fun stuff with them. I added little bits of greenery. These kind of look like herbs or little grasses or weeds. And then I'm going to stain my eggs. And I'm using this stain that I have in this little bottle from the Dollar Tree. It's burnt umber, a little bit of black and some gray and some water. And then anytime I want to change the color, I just add more brown or more black. And I have a ready-made stain good to go whenever I need it. The sign is completely dry, so now I'm going to just add everything together. Hot glue will hold these in place just fine. I'm using a generous amount on the back of the bunnies, and you can see how I have everything set up here. I used my laser cutter to cut out these Happy Easter letters, and these are from 1/4-inch birch plywood. These are available on my Etsy shop. If you want this Happy Easter cutout, you can get it. I have lots of them in stock and I'm ready to ship. So head on over to my Etsy shop if you'd like these and anything else that I have on there. My link will be down in the description box. I'm going to add these little mini egg sprigs to the middle of the sign. I'll add some other embellishments like some little tiny white wax flowers, some other types of leaves, and then I'll add a few embellishments to the bunnies as well. And I think this sign turned out absolutely gorgeous. It's kind of simple, it's a little rustic, but it screams Easter, and I really love this guy. Thank you so much for watching my video today. I hope you enjoyed it and got inspired. If you haven't already, I would love it if you could hit that thumbs up button. That gets me noticed more on YouTube and helps my channel grow. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and don't forget about the notification bell. You don't want to miss out on anything else I have to share. Bye for now.